Hi, and welcome to the class Build a To-Do List app using JavaScript, offered to you by the Clifton Park Half Moon Library, and I am your instructor for the class. My name is Scott Bartow, and what we're going to do today is we're going to be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and JavaScript is what we're going to be used to tie all the pieces together and create a dynamic, interactive application that will allow you to create a to-do list and be able to mark off when you have your tasks done, or be able to delete tasks and re-enter new tasks. So what I'm using to create the program is I'm using Notepad, and usually you would have separate files, one for the HTML, one for CSS, and one for the JavaScript code. But in today's lesson, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be combining all three of those languages into one program, and that'll all be entered using Notepad. And if you look to the left of my screen, you can see that I created a file, JavaScript todo.html, and that's in Notepad. And off to the left is when I run that file, JavaScript todo.html, and there's no code in the file right now, so the web browser brings up my file with it being empty. So on the left will be where we're entering the code in Notepad, and on the right will be of my screen will be where the program is actually run, so we can see how we're doing as we enter the different as we enter the code into our program. So let's start with a basic HTML template. All right, so our HTML file, we're going to start with a lesson sign, and we'll have exclamation point in capital letters, doc type, space, and then HTML in lowercase and greater than sign. And hit enter, and then we'll do our HTML tags. And I'll do a closing HTML tag. All right, now up here, inside the HTML tag, I will add my head tag. And I'll do a closing head tag. Down below, I'll have my body tag. And a closing body tag. All right, so here's our basic HTML template. And let's see. And yeah, that's it for now. All right, so the information goes in the head, in between the head tags, the opening and closing head tags in HTML, is information about the file, about the program. And the information that goes in between the body tags is what is going to be displayed on the screen when you run it in a web browser. All right, so I will delete some of these, and let's get started. Okay, so as far as the HTML that we're going to be entering, we are going to all right, so first we're going to create a div tag. Now this the code we're going to be entering right now is going to be in between the body tags, all right? So you indent in between the body tags, and we're going to create a div tag. A div tag is simply a division, or I like to call it a container tag. All right, so we're going to create a container for us. Now, we're going to give this div tag an attribute of ID equals, and we're going to call it my div, capital DIV, and you surround that with double quotes. And we're also going to give it a class equal to header. All right. So that's our opening div tag. I'll put a greater than sign to close out the opening tag. Now, let's see. I can put my closing div tag down here, lined up underneath the opening div tag. All right, so that's going to be our container. And what we're going to put in here is, we're going to put in, let's see, we're going to start with an h2 tag. And we'll give that a style equal to margin. Let's see, we'll give it the margin style of 5 px, which is px stands for pixels. All right, close that out. And what we want this header tag to say, an H2 tag in HTML is the biggest font size for the H tags are for an H1 tag. So an H2 tag is pretty decently sized, and it goes all the way down to an H6 tag. And what we want this to say is my to-do list. And I'll close out the H2 tag. Next, we want to have an input. All right, so we have an input tag, and this is the type is going to be text. Right, so this is what the user is going to be inputting into their to-do list app. And we give this an ID attribute equal to my input. Then we'll do another attribute called placeholder equals double quote title double quotes, and I'll close out the input tag. Now for an input tag, it's just a single tag. So if you look at our program so far, we have opening and closing tags for head, body, div, HTML, H2, but the input tag is a single tag, right? It's just one opening tag. No need for an ending tag. All right, and then last thing we're going to put in this container, this div, is we're going to have span, and then we're going to do onClick equals, onClick equals, and then we'll do new element parentheses. All right, so it is calling the function new element parentheses, double quotes, and we give it a class. This equals, and this is going to be, the name of the class will be add btn, add button. And I'll close out the span tag, and we're going to have this say, we're going to have it say add. And then we'll close out the span tag, we'll do a closing span tag. And that is all we're going to have inside this in between these div tags. All right, so this will be our first container. So I've already saved the file. And the way you would save it is you would do file and then save as, and then in Notepad you would do file then save as. It brings up a window in File Explorer. Have a folder that you want to put this file into, and then call the file JavaScript to do.html. You have to make sure in Notepad you have to change the file type. So it's automatically going to be saved as .txt, and you don't want your file saved with that extension. You want it to be saved with a .html. So you want to change the file type and then enter the file name JavaScript to do.html and save your file. And once your file is saved, then go into File Explorer in Windows anyway. You would right click on the start button down below in the lower left-hand corner, and you would choose File Explorer, and then you would choose File Explorer, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On my machine, it's 5 from the bottom. And for File Explorer, you would go into where you saved your JavaScript to do.html file, and you would double click on it, and it will open it up in a web browser. I'm using Chrome as my web browser, but you can use whatever you want, Firefox or Safari or whatever. All right, so I'm going to save my file. So File and save it. And then I'm going to, over on the right-hand side, I've already run my file one time, but now that I've added this div section, I want to see if it comes out correctly. So I'll refresh my JavaScript to do a .html page on the right-hand side, and let's see if anything comes out, which it should. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I got my H2 tag says my to-do list. Then I have an input box, which the placeholder says title ... So the title is going to be the title of the tasks that you want to add to your list. And then off to the right of the text box, the input box, I have the word add. All right, so I'm telling you to add this task. All right, let's move on. All right, so what's next? Next, we want to have a list. All right. All right. So let's start off with a few things. So this is going to be an unordered list. So the HTML tag that we use is UL, right? So all right, let's do UL, and I'm going to give it an attribute of ID equals double quotes my UL, double quotes, and I'll close it out. And then I'm going down a few lines down below. I'm going to do the closing UL tag. And then up above, let's add a few items. So items within a list, unordered or ordered, is going to be the LI tag, list item tag. So LI, and I'll say go to the gym, and then I'll do a closing LI tag, and I'll enter a few in here. Another LI tag is going to be get groceries, and closing LI, and one final one about so I'll do an opening LI tag, study for math test. And I'll do a closing LI for that, okay? So I'll get rid of the spaces here. I'll come up and click on File, then Save. Off to the right, I'll refresh my page, and there you go. Oh, I know why. I know why I have a bullet right here, because on my first, if you look to the left, on my first line list item, I didn't do a closing li tag, so I need that / So I'll save it again. Off to the right, I'll refresh my page, and there I have 3 items. Okay. Unordered list produced bullets. Ordered list would have produced a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Okay, so let's continue on with our HTML code. All right. All right. So pretty basic so far. Now let's all right, so I have that. Let's give it some style. So where we can add internal style, internal CSS, cascading style sheets, within our HTML program is up in the head section. So way up here in our program, we're going to indent and we're going to do style. So we have an opening, closing style tag. And we're going to have a decent amount of style. So what we will do is, so we'll indent in between our style tags. Let's see what the first style is going to be. Yeah, we got a bit of style to do. So the first one's going to be our body. All right, so our body tag. So we want to select the body tag. So what we do is we do body, space, and then we have curly brackets. Hit enter a couple times, do a curly bracket under the B in body. And then within, indented within here, here's where we're going to add our styles. 1 style per line. So we're going to start with margin. So it's the style name, margin, the attribute, dot, and then a space, and then the value. So we're going to have a 0 margin value, and you concatenate the different styles that you're adding with a semicolon. So I do semicolon, hit enter. I go underneath the margin style, and here I'm going to do min dash width colon, and the minimum width is going to be 250 pixels, semicolon, and that's it for the body tag. So you start with a selector, space, and then curly bracket, then the styles inside separated with semicolon, and then a closing curly bracket. So ready to move on to our next style. And the next one is going to be all right, so we're just going to do an asterisk, right, space, curly brackets, oops, space, curly bracket, hit enter, curly bracket, right, and then indented in between the curly brackets, we'll have box dash sizing colon space, and then we'll do border dash box and semicolon. All right, that's it for the asterisk. All right. Now, what that will do is, and I'm going to do a comment, which is / asterisk / So what this would do is it will include the padding and border in elements total width and height. And this is how you do a multi-line comment within CSS. So you have the / asterisk and then asterisk / at the end. All right, so that's what this is doing here. This asterisk, it'll include the padding and the border in the elements total width and height. All right. Next, what we're going to do is UI or UL. So the unordered list. So we select that tag, and then we do this, and then this. Go up. And so for the UL tag, we're going to have a margin, colon, 0, semicolon, and then the other style is going to be padding, colon, 0, semicolon. Here. All right, that's it for the unordered list tag. Next, we're going to have ULLIs. Oops. ULLIs. Now this is going to have a bit. So we're going to have cursor, colon, pointer, semicolon, okay. Next, we're going to have position. The position of this list is going to be relative instead of absolute. Oops. List dash style dash type, colon, none. Oops. Put it on the same line, so I have to move that down. Here. Next, for our list items, we're going to have background is going to be the hash value of the color, EEE. And we'll see what background color that gives us for our list items. Size, colon, font size is going to be 18 pixels, 18 px. Oops. Come down here to font size and do 18 px, semicolon, hit enter. We have a couple more styles, one more style. And transition is going to be 0.2. 0.2. So after font size of 18 px, there we'll have transition, colon, 0.2. It's tough using the mouse pad on a laptop. Let's keep getting moved over to other lines. 0.2 S. And that's it. That's it for the UI, for the list items in the UL. All right. Well, we see how this looks. So we'll do a file save. And then over here, I'm going to refresh the page. All right. So it did some margin work and some margin work and what else? This doesn't like this over here under the add. That. Oops, I see why. We got a semicolon here. Let's see if that fixes our problem. So I will save the file. Over on the right, I'm going to refresh the file. All right, that makes things in the UL, the LIs a little bit bigger font size. Gave it a background color of kind of a light, really light blue. I still have a problem over here with this curly bracket. It's an opening curly bracket. It doesn't like. I got to the add, include, font size and border box. Oh, that's where it is. It's down here in the body section. Somehow I put an opening curly bracket. So I got rid of that and do a file save. Off to the right, I refresh my page. And now the curly bracket's gone. Okay, let's continue on with our CSS that we're adding. CSS is just styles. All right, make the list items unselectable. All right. So now next I'm going to set all the odd list items to a different color. All right. That way we'll have, instead of the 3 items that we have, instead of them all having a background of this light blue, we're going to alternate so that the items can be more readable. So the way to do this is we're going to select something a little different. We're going to have ULLI colon nth dash child dash child, and we'll say odd in parentheses. I'll go parentheses ODD. Right, so the odd lines are going to have this background. Right, and so we'll give it a background, colon, and we're going to say the hash value, of F9, semicolon. All right, let's see how that turns out. So I'll file save. Off to the right, I'll refresh my page and see how only the odd number have this this F9 background color is just the white. It's kind of slightly off-white. Whereas the third item, get groceries, is an even number item, and that gets the very light blue. All right, so that's how we alternate the background colors of our different items that we're going to have. All right, so next, we're going to add a background color and strike out text. All right, so what this is going to do is, so UL, whenever the LI dot checked, so an LI item that is checked, we're going to give that a We're going to give it a background of the hash value. Oops. So indented in the li chest is going to be background colon. We give it a hash value of 888. Hash value color of 888. And then the text color is going to be hash value FFF. And lastly, when a task is checked, we're going to give it text decoration line through semicolon. All right, and one other thing I wanted to do up above, I want to add a style. Oops. We're going to select, and this is going to be UL. Where did I do that? Semicolon. So this will be UL, LI, colon, hover. So when we hover over the LI item, you know, one of the to-do list tasks, then it's going to give it a different background color. Colon. And we'll give it a color of DDD. All right, let's see what color that is. I'll do file save. Over here, I'll refresh my page. Now, if I highlight one, it gives it a darker blue color. Highlight one, highlight one. Now, what it's supposed to do, oh, check. All right. So the line through will happen later on when we add a check to the LI. All right, so moving right along. Next, what are we going to do? We are going to, we have our hover, we have our check. Now what? All right, so we're going to add a check mark when clicked on. All right. All right, this is going to be to allow us to close out a task. And so what we'll do is our selector is going to be UL, oops. UL space LI dot checked colon before space. And this is what's going to happen when we check a LI item. So we're going to have a few things. All right, we're going to have content. Oops. Content colon space single quote. Oops. Single quote. That's it for content. Hit enter, go down below. Content, here we're gonna have position. Position, colon is gonna be absolute. Border, color. and border width. So these are all CSS styles that we're adding to make our to-do list application look better. So HTML are the building blocks of every web page. CSS is used to make those building blocks and your web page look better cosmetically. And then finally, JavaScript is what makes you, allows you to have your web page become dynamic and interactive. Right, so this is getting a lot of different styles. Yes. So that's top, left, 16 pixels. Oops. And then transform, colon, rotate 45 degrees, so 40, oops. Rotate, parenthesis, 45, DEG, semicolon, couple more, height, height is 15 pixels, and then the width is the final style we're adding to this, and it's going to be 7 pixels. All right. Ooh. All right, let's see if this works. I save it, I refresh it, I click it, and so I still need the check done. So right now we're adding styles to things that you're not going to see until a little bit later on when we add our JavaScript. All right, so we're going to style the close button. All right. And close over, and then there's headers. So a few more styles to add. All right. So let's style the close button. All right. So dot close is used in CSS. You use a dot before a class name. So close is going to be a class name that we're going to use later on in our JavaScript. So all right, so close. What else we got? We got background, color. And what this is going to have is the color of the hash value of hashtag F44336 semicolon. All right, so that's our close. Oops, I have to do color also. All right, color is going to be white. Semicolon. Right. So what else? Then we're going to need to close hover. All right, I'm just going to copy this guy and see if we can do this a little bit faster. Get our styles done so we can get into JavaScript and actually see what's happening with our to-do list app. So I have close, colon, hover. And what's going to happen with this guy is we're going to change the color. We're going to keep it the same, F4336 and color white. All right. Up a little bit. All right, so that was hover. And then, sorry, I made a mistake. So with dot close, we're going to have Yeah. We're going to have position absolute. This guy. Then we're going to have right, colon, colon, 0, semicolon. Already had one. Top, colon, 0, semicolon, and then padding. LPX, 16, space, 16 px, 12 px, and 16 px. All right, so with padding or margins, when it comes to CSS, the first number is the top, second number is the right, third number is bottom, and fourth number is left. So top, right, bottom, left. So top gets 12 pixels of padding, right gets 15 pixels of padding, bottom gets 12 pixels of padding, and the left gets 16 pixels of padding. All right, so that's it for the close. Let's just save it, refresh it, make sure nothing's blowing up. And it's not ready to go yet. All right, so what's that? All right, so we just have to do the input, the add button, and the header. So start the header. All right, so we have dot header. And oops. Copy these styles up here. I'll dump them into the header. All right, so what do we have for header? Background color, F. We have F, 44336. And what's next? Color is white. And we have padding, 30 pixels, 40 pixels. Padding, colon, 30 px, space, 40 px. All right. Where we have text align is going to be centered. Text dash align is the style and should be centered. And that's it for there. Copy that. And then this would be after. So header, colon, after, and we're gonna have content. Where do I have that up above? Content. Anywhere? There it is. What do we have? Content display clear. content. This would be display. Display would be table. Semicolon. And we're almost done with CSS. We're going to clear. Space both. Semicolon. Let's see how the headers turned out. So the file. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. By accident, I hit save as. So I want file, save. Off to the right, I'm refreshing my page, and boom. So if you look to the left, what we just added for the header section, but down in our CSS, we have our div tag has a class equal to header. So up in CSS, we use, for classes, we use dot and then the class name. So we have dot header, and we gave it a background color of this F44336. Must be a reddish or a light reddish color. We have the text is white, so my to-do list and the ad are all in white. And then we have some padding, 30 pixels by 40 pixels, and text align center. See how the heading with the input box and the word ad all got centered in the div tag. All right. So the very last thing we have to work on is we have to style the input tag. All right. And then we have to style the add button. All right. All right. So let's do the input. I might be able to copy and paste real fast. Input. Border. Where do we have border? Maybe here. I'll copy some of this stuff from the ULLI chat. All right, so copy it, come down here, and this is going to be for our input box. Hit enter, and before I forget, I'll do the closing tag. All right, so now, what do we want? Input. We want margin. We don't want content. We don't need that. Do a border. Simple border attribute. Space. None. And we'll do margin. Oops. Close bracket. Margin. Margin's a 0. Semicolon. And so this is all for our input tag. So we're selecting the input tag to add style to it. I just copied it down. So next, border radius. That's a different style we haven't used yet. And this is going to be 0. Next, we want the width, not the border width. We want the width to be 75%. So 75 and then percent sign. What's next? We have padding of 10 pixels. And we have float of left. Colon left. Oops. And font size of 16 pixels. All right. Font dash size. Colon, and we'll make it 16 pixels. Oops. CPX, and let's give that a try. So our input box, if you look to the right in the web browser, the input box is right here, and we just added style for it. We're selecting the input tag, and we're adding these styles, right? Margin 0, border a certain color, border radius 0, width, padding, float, and font size is 16 pixels. All right, so I'll do a file, I'll save it up, and I'll refresh my page over here, and see how it changes the input box. All right, it's a little bit wide, it's a little bit higher, bigger. And the final thing we have to work on, style-wise, before we get to our JavaScript, is we have to add style to our add button. All right, right now it just says add over here, and you can't even tell it's a button. All right, so what we're going to do is, let's see what we can do. I have to copy this guy. Okay, so let's do dot add btn, right? Because we added a class down below. If you look down here, right here in our div, right, we have span on click equals new element, so we call a function, and we gave this a class of add button. So this add, the word add, is an actual button. And we gave it a class of add button, so we can reference that with a dot and then the class name of add btn. And now we're going to give it a few styles. So we're going to give it padding. I'll place the margin with padding of 10 pesos. What else do we need? Width is going to be 25%. Background, do we have a background? Nope. Background is going to be D9099. D9099. Oops. Let's start the hash value with a hashtag D9099. Semicolon. All right, we got that. We're going to do color. Color is going to be hashtag 555 semicolon. Oops. All right. We are going to float left, which we have. Float left, text line. Do we have text line? Nope. Text dash align. Center. Text align. Font size 16 pixels. We already have that. I think we're down there. Cursor is going to be pointer. We're not going to have a border here, so cursor, pointer. All right. That. And we have transition, colon, 0.3s. And the final one for our button is going to be border dash radius. And the border radius is going to be 0, semicolon. And that's it for the add button, except we want a dot addbtn colon hover. space, brackets, oops. And this is it for styles. Thank God. All right, so background, there's color, oops, LOR, semicolon, hashtag BBB, semicolon. All right. All right, let's see what happens to our button when we save this file. If all was typed in correctly, I'll refresh my page, and now you should see the button. Something's a little bit wrong here. So you got the button here, and the hover is working. Let's see, I have padding of 10. I have, okay, the width, 25%. I have a semicolon after the word width, and it's got to be a colon. Let's make sure. All right, so I'll do a file, save, refresh. All right, that made it a little bit bigger, so that is all right. Padding 10, right? Width is 25%. Let's put them in order. All right, what's next? Background, colon, hashtag. All right, so the background color looks all right. The color looks fine. Color is fine, hashtag 555. And then we have float left, right? Float left. And then text align center. Text align center. Font size 16. That looks good. Font size 16. Cursor is pointer. That's fine. Transition 0.3s. Semicolon. That's fine. Transition. Border dash radius. And oh, it looks like I have padding twice. I think that's my problem. That's what I get for copying. All right, there we go. I'll do file, save, and refresh. And that doesn't look a whole lot better. That's our input box. That's our title. So something's not right with this. All right, so after all our adding of styles, if you look to the right of my screen, you can see that we have the my to-do list app all set up correctly. So we've got our title input box, right? I just clicked on it, so it says title, and where you can enter whatever, help, move, and then if you hover over the add button and click on add, nothing happens right now because we have to add JavaScript for things to actually happen. So one thing I'm going to do is for these list items up here, I'm going to add some padding, I believe. Padding. Yeah, let's add padding left, so it's not so close to the edge of the screen. So padding dash left, semicolon, and let's give it, 10. Give it 10 ps. And semicolon, refresh, and that moves all three of the list items that we have currently on the screen. It shifted them 10 pixels to the left, or to the right, actually, away from the left border. All right, that looks a little bit neater. Now, to add our JavaScript, we added all our styles up above, but to add JavaScript, oops, I will push this over a little bit, and I'll move our notepad over. Okay. JavaScript is going to be added down below in the body section of our HTML program. And let's see, the way we want to do that is by adding we're going to add a couple of script tags. So down here in the body, we're going to add an opening script. And we'll do a closing script. Okay. And our JavaScript code is going to go in between here, in between the opening and closing script tag. All right, so just a few things we have to create with JavaScript. So not too bad. Yeah, so first we're going to create a close button. All right. So we're going to create a variable. We use in JavaScript we use var my node list equals, and this will be document get elements by tag name parenthesis, and the tag name is going to be li double quotes parenthesis and semicolon. JavaScript statements end in semicolons. All right. Now the next line, I'm going to create a variable called I. Where am I? So var I semicolon, and then the next line is we're going to have a for statement. So we'll do a for loop. All right. While I equals 0, semicolon, semicolon, and do this. Space. All right, so that's semicolon. I is less than my node list dot length semicolon I, and we're going to increment I by 1. If I could just get this to work. I, and we're incremented by 1, so it's I plus plus. And then we'll close out our I'll cut that. I'll put it here. Close out the parenthesis. And then we're going to need a curly bracket. And closing curly bracket down below. And then inside our for loop, we're going to have a few things. So we're going to have a var span equals document create element parenthesis double quotes span double quotes and parenthesis semicolon, and then next we're going to have var txt equals txt equals, and this one's going to be document create text node parenthesis double quotes, and a backslash new 00D7. And close it with semicolon. All right. And then we'll have span dot class name equals double quotes equals double quotes close double quotes semicolon. Okay, a couple more statements in our for loop. Span dot append child parentheses th, oops, that's spelled child, right? CHIDILD parentheses and then TXT and TXT parenthesis semicolon. I'm crazy here. All right, one more statement in a for loop. My node list and that should be a bracket, square bracket, I inside the square bracket, dot append child parentheses span parentheses semicolon. All right. All right, so that's our close button. Let's run it and see if we have any errors. All right, nothing new comes up. So node list, tag name li, and let's know this, that. This all looks pretty good. Span class equals close, child, node, and that's it. Okay, so let's move down. And now, when we click on the close button to hide the current list item, all right, so that's going to produce a close button. So create a close button and append it to each list item. All right, so I don't see a close button next to each list item like we should see. Oh. All right. All right. All right, so this first part of JavaScript, what we did was we created a close button and we appended it to the end of each of the list items. All right, so we have 3 list items in our screen on our web page right now. So if you look off to the right for each item, we have an X. All right, so now next we're going to add JavaScript code. When we click on the X, it's going to eliminate the item. Well, it's going to put a check mark next to the item, and it's going to put a line through the item to let you know that you completed the task. All right. So first, we're going to hide the current list item. All right. So what we're going to do is we'll type in bar. All right. So bar close equals documents dot get element by class name. Let's see. And the class name is going to be close. Right? We created that class before. Semicolon. All right, so that's bar close. And then we'll do a bar. We'll create another variable called I. And we'll create a for loop where I equals 0, semicolon. And then I is greater than close that length, semicolon, I plus, and parentheses, brackets. We have to close the for loop with a curly bracket. And then inside the for loop, we have close, bracket, bracket. There we are. So, adding the code in JavaScript to click on the S to close out a line item, a task from your list is done right here with this JavaScript. So what you do is you create a variable called close. So bar close. So it's highlighted in blue on the left side of my screen. So click on, you create a variable named close. You make it equal to document.get elements by class name, close, right? And then you create a variable I, and then you create a for loop where I equals 0, I is less than the close length, dot length, so the length of the close, and I plus plus. So you're incrementing I by 1 each time. And then you take close and whatever the index number of the list item is, when you click on that, so say I clicked on get groceries, right? That this is a list item. If I click on get groceries, right? What happens is it will, well, we'll go into that later, but if I want to remove this item totally from my list, I would click on the X, and the X will know that I'm on this item, this list item, and not the go to the gym, but I'm on get groceries, and it will remove it. It will hide it from the list. All right. So this is the code in JavaScript that does that. That it basically activates this X to close out an item, to hide an item. Now the code to when you click on the list item to make it to have a line go through it and have a check mark off to the left is this code right here. And here you're creating, here I'll highlight it. You're creating a variable named list. So var list equals document.query selector UL. And then you're saying list.add event listener. And when I click on this list item, if the target.tag name is li, which the tag we're using for each list item is li, then you're going to toggle a check mark. All right. So if I click on it one time, so if I click on go to gym, right? What happens is it puts a line through the text, go to gym, and it makes the background color a little bit grayer, and it puts a check mark right next to the item. Now, if you look over to the left in JavaScript code, when I do the toggle, that function, if I click on this item again, it will remove the check mark and it will remove the line that goes through the text, and it'll change the background back to the like the lighter blue gray. All right, there we go. So that's the code for that. And then the final code is when I enter information into the input box and click on the add button, I want to add another list item to my list. All right. And here's the code for that, which it's right here actually. So there's a bit to this. So you have to create a function called new element. And so here is all the JavaScript code that allows me to enter into the input box and click on the add button. Once I click on the add button, I'm going to bring that information and create a new list item into my list. So I'll show you how it works. I click on the input box, and I'll say help friend move on Saturday. All right. So I enter in my text into the input box. I click on the add button, and there we go. It enters the list item next on the list. So it'll put it on towards the bottom. All right. And you notice off to the right, it's got the S. So I can remove this item if I wanted to. And also, if I click on the item, it checks it and puts a line through it saying, hey, I've done this. All right. And that is all this JavaScript code. And I'm running short of time, so I'm not going to be able to go into too much of this, into detail of this JavaScript code. But you're creating a function in JavaScript called new element, and then you're doing a whole bunch of things to allow the text to be moved down and create a brand new list item, a new li tag in HTML, and to place it down here below. So I hope you've enjoyed this class. Sorry it was a little bit long, and I hope you can see all the benefits of being able to understand and know how to use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and how to pull those all together to do some pretty amazing things. JavaScript is such a versatile language that it's something everybody should really know. It's used worldwide. It's one of the most popular languages out there, and it just makes HTML and CSS really come alive with all the things that you can do with it. So I hope you've enjoyed this class. This has been building a to-do list app using JavaScript. My name is Scott Bartow, and this class has been offered to you by the Clifton Park Half Moon Library. Thanks a lot for joining me.